Welcome, Dr. Ruth.
Well, happy to be here, even though my technology is failing. So we do the old-fashioned landline, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's going to be great. I was just telling our Green Warriors about how you have authored so many books and been in so many triathlons and so forth. And it's been just wonderful to have you. And what I didn't talk to them about was that back in February 2nd, 2021, was the very first broadcast I did on Be Green with Amy Live. And you were my very first guest.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
yes. So,
No idea.
I know. So I am just so thrilled to have you back on the show. It is just so heartwarming to know that you are going to be with us today.
Yeah, it's 2 years later, and I aged 2 years, and I'm 88 now.
88. How wonderful. And
Yeah.
there are people that are having trouble getting up out of their chair, and you're
Yeah.
still you're still running
Yeah.
marathons.
Yeah. I want to back up a bit, and can I make a correction?
Yes, please do.
Okay. In 1968, I picked up a strange book with the word aerobics I'd never seen before, and I was getting ready to board a flight, needed something to read, so I thought, I've never heard that word. I wonder what it means. And it turns out Kenneth Cooper had coined the word after the research he had done on the Vietnam recruits, that he had to get them into shape quick. And so by the time I finished reading that book about running and how it so many different benefits from head to toe, and so I started running right away and did my first run and got hooked. And and I kept extending distances, and I heard about races. So in 1982, with the diagnosis of breast cancer, I'm talking to Dr. John McDougall, who's doing research on diet and breast cancer. And I said, well, it can't be diet because I eat, I had college nutrition courses, and about the chicken and fish was take the skin off the chicken and low-fat dairy. And so it can't be diet. And I'm so fit that I'm running marathons. I had been a runner for 14 years at that time. And so I thought, how could I have breast cancer? Well, he showed me the research. So in 1982, I changed to my low-fat, whole food, vegan diet, and did my next marathon. Took 17 minutes off my best time and started placing in races, started getting first place. And I looked back and I thought, wow, this diet is so powerful. And then I heard about the Ironman Triathlon, which people may know, it started here in Hawaii. And there had only been a couple of times that they had run it. In fact, it was the third time that I went to watch it and thought, wow, this is incredible. I've got to do that. So I added my biking and swimming. And 2 years after my stage 4 breast cancer diagnosis, I completed my first of many Ironman triathlons. And so that's when Dr. McDougall said, you've got to write a book. So I said, Dr. McDougall, I'm just an average person. He said, listen, I tell women they need to change their diet to prevent or reverse breast cancer. And most of them won't listen. And I want to quote you as somebody who listened. And now, 41 years later, no recurrence of the cancer, no chemo, no radiation. So that's the short version of how I got into the level of health that I am. And the publicity of when I got a first place in one of the races, Continental Airlines approached me and said, we want to sponsor you. Now, how many times does that happen to athletes? Their dream is to get a sponsor. And so they said, we've got a Ironman Triathlon coming up in New Zealand in a couple of months. We'd like to send you there to do it. And I'm thinking, my God, an Ironman takes so much out of you, so much training. I'm not sure I can. And I said, say yes. What are you going to do? You know, the diet is this powerful. So I came back with the first place trophy and the front page story in the New Zealand Herald, Ruth, a woman of iron. And the Continental guy looked down at the paper and looked up at me and he said, they have an Ironman in Japan in a few months. Can we send you to Japan to do that one? So, same thing happened. Another first place brought back a newspaper of the Asahi Shimbun, the main newspaper in Japan. Same thing happened. And so everything was going fine. And then I got hit by a truck while training for the next Ironman. So that kind of slowed me down, although I did recover. So,
and that's anyway, the power. That's the power of plants. I tell you.
Exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to make. The power of plants, and it allows you to get the exercise. Now, to get to the main point of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and we're gonna be doing our true or false quiz too.
Well, okay, I want to talk about nitric oxide. You want me to talk now about that?
Well, let's bring that in after we start our game, because I think that we're going to just start our game of true or false.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Okay, so here's the first question. Green Warriors are going to type in their answer, and then we're going to ask Dr. Ruth to chime in. True or false, 25% of men age 60 and over are completely impotent. Put in your guess, Green Warriors, true or false, and they're typing in their answer. And Dr. Heidrich, please tell us, what is the answer to this question?
That is true. Very true.
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, we wouldn't think that would be such a large percentage of men, but absolutely.
It's worse. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So our next question, Green Warriors, true or false, 40% of men in their 40s experience some form of impotency at one time or another. So 40% of men in their 40s experience some form of impotency at one time or another. True or false? Type in your guess. And as they're doing that, go ahead, Dr. Ruth.
Well, are you watching the answers? Are they answering true
yes.
or false?
Yes. Well, they come in a little bit delayed, so I'm now getting the answers from the first one.
Okay.
So it's just for fun. Okay. Nobody's getting graded on it. Go ahead.
Okay. It's very true. Depending on other factors, but it's the typical person eating the standard American diet, 40% by the age of 40, they're feeling the effects of it already.
Wow, that is just amazing. And impotency, it's not necessarily not able to. You want to define that so that this way.
That's different from infertility.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Infertility is the lack of sperm reaching the egg.
Right.
And that can be diet related as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Dysfunction means you can't get an erection in order to get the impregnation.
Okay. All right, so here we got another one. True or false, by the time men reach the age of 70, nearly 75% suffer from erectile dysfunction. Okay, Green Warriors, type in your guess for that one. Okay, Dr. Ruth?
Oh, yeah, it's 75% suffer from it. And again, it's not necessary, but people don't know this. And this is what Amy and I are trying to do, is educate people. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're getting our green warriors are smart, and some of them are guessing with question marks, and then they're saying, "Wow." They're pretty. Okay, here's the next one. True or false, lifestyle choices like smoking and alcohol consumption and food have no impact on erectile dysfunction. Okay, green warriors, give us your answer, your best guess for that one. And Dr. Ruth is going to chime in. Go ahead, Dr. Ruth.
Yeah, I bet they all get this one as false. if if you if anybody says true, then we got to educate them because it is definitely a false thing. Lifestyle choices have a major impact on erectile dysfunction.
Yes,
Okay?
they do. Yes. Okay. So if you're just joining us, I'm here with Dr. Ruth Heidrich, and she we're talking about erectile dysfunction, and we're playing our game of true or false. And here's another one. True or false, erectile dysfunction is a natural part of the aging process. True or false? Okay, Green Warriors, what do you think the answer is? And okay, Dr. Ruth, what's the answer?
Definitely false. And the proof of that goes back to Dr. John McDougall, who I mentioned before. Before he was here on Oahu, he was on the Big Island of Hawaii as the plantation doctor. And his job was, he was a brand new doctor. He just finished his residency, young and eager. And so after a few years as his plantation doctor, he drew a conclusion that there were 3 generations of plantation workers. A lot of them had come in from Japan and the Philippines, and they were young men, and when they got paychecks, they saved them. When they saved enough money, and sometimes it took years, and they'd get a picture bride and bring them over. And many of them were in their 70s and 80s and siring children with their picture brides. And Dr. McDougall realized that if they could maintain their potency all the way up to 70 and 80. So, and he also noticed that the middle generation was starting to get a little obesity and other problems. And the youngest, the kids, were getting obesity, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. And that's when he knew how powerful diet was. So, yes, it's aging. You can, if you want to have kids, well, women, of course, we don't keep producing our eggs, but men keep producing their sperm. Not fair, huh?
Right. And there are Bible stories about this. And so some people may think, oh, this is a Bible story. I wonder if it was just a little exaggeration, but apparently it can really happen in even in modern times. Okay.
Well, in modern times only if they stuck to their original diet when they were young.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is something that because oftentimes there are men that if they're having erectile dysfunction, they may discuss it with their doctor. Either it was their idea to go, or their wife or partner asked them to do this, or maybe as part of the exam, the doctor might ask about it because he wants to maybe promote a prescription, and oftentimes I think that the medical doctors will tell the patient, well, it is a natural part of the aging process. I think that's something that they may hear often. Yeah. So here's another true or false, Green Warriors. True or false, erectile dysfunction is usually a result of low testosterone. Okay. Type in your guess for that one. And while you're doing that, Dr. Ruth, tell us what the answer is.
It is not due to low testosterone. People they may try that. Their doctor could write a prescription for testosterone, and that has horrible side effects and leads to things like roid rage. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a phenomenon that men who have too much testosterone, it doesn't take much to set them off, and they'll strike out, and it's called roid rage from too much testosterone. And it didn't cure their impotency, didn't help at all.
Wow. And that's, I mean, here, we're having men that are given these treatments in the hopes of having something positive come out of it. And now there's more things that can be coming from it that are negative. And it's not even helping them. So now it's just compounding what they're experiencing as far as their mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it really ties into your next two faults. So go ahead with that one.
Okay. So the next question is, true or false, erectile dysfunction can be a symptom of an underlying medical condition? Okay, Green Warriors, type in your answer, and then we will let Dr. Heidrich tell us what the answer is. Okay, Dr. Heidrich.
It is often, you've all heard the phrase, the canary in the coal mine. The coal miners put canaries down there to be alerting them the first sign of being dangerous gases. And so a young man, 40 years old, who is complaining of erectile dysfunction, if he goes to a plant-based doctor like Dr. McDougall, he would run a blood test on them and find out that they had high cholesterol, high blood pressure, all kinds of other problems, and that what was happening is that tiny little artery in the penis is plugged. And so it can tell a doctor right away that they have heart disease and are in danger of a heart attack or stroke. It will come later if they don't reverse ED with change in diet.
Yes, and we should talk a little bit more about that tiny artery, because we do have different blood vessels in our body, and they have different diameters to them. And
Yes.
right. And so I often think about how you could have a smoothie straw or a regular size straw or one of those coffee stir kind of straws or cocktail stir kind of straws. And if I had, let's say I had a glass of fresh squeezed orange juice with all the pulp inside of it, and I decided I wanted to drink it through a straw. So I would take my smoothie straw and I would drink that, and it would be, I wouldn't have a problem with it. And then I would take my regular standard size straw and I would drink it. And every once in a while, it might kind of get a little plugged up with some of that pulp. But if I took a coffee stirrer straw and I tried to drink that orange juice through it, it wouldn't take long. And the straw would be plugged up with all that pulp, and I wouldn't be able to get the juice to flow through that straw.
Yeah, and you can picture the head of the penis, the size of the head of a pin. The head of a pin is the size of that artery, so it clogs up pretty quickly.
Right. And so to what you were speaking, as far as the canary in the coal mine, of course, the coffee stirrer straw or the arteries that are in the body that are the smallest in diameter, if one is going to get plugged up first, it would be the arteries that are the smallest in diameter. And just like you said, the one that leads to the penis. And then that is, I mean, you're basically, it's blood flow that is making this operate kind of like in a hydraulic situation. And that's what it depends on, to be filled with blood in order to have the erection. And if the blood isn't flowing and it's getting clogged up, so, and that would be the canary. So, and that's what I think about, when people go in for stents, and they may have, go ahead. You want to talk about that?
that's just a temporary measure, and it doesn't cure the problem at all. Usually they then have to go back and do another stent and another stent. Ironically, cardiac surgeons who do these, they specialize in just doing stents because it's such an intricate surgery. And they tell their cardiology friends, hey, if I have a heart attack, I do not want stents. I want a bypass surgery. And even more ironically, the bypass surgery specialists say exactly the opposite. If I have a heart attack or have plugged up arteries in my heart, I do not want the bypass. I want a stent. Isn't that strange? You know, these two different specialties in cardiology can't agree, other than the fact that neither works. It's got to be diet. And Kim Williams, MD, cardiology, head of the American College of Cardiology for a while, has said the same thing. It's got to be the diet. Okay,
Right.
So next.
Yeah. So true or false, Green Warriors, erectile dysfunction pills are a good solution for erectile dysfunction. Type in your answer. And while you're doing that, okay, Dr. Heidrich, tell us the answer.
The answer is absolutely false. They might work temporarily, but they sure don't get to create the solution to the problem. There are also all kinds of side effects. The list is like on TB when they have these new drugs that they have to list the side effects, and they go on and on and on. But it definitely can cause effects on the vision and cause blue. Would you see everything tinged blue? This is not what men want to do to reverse their ED.
Right. And it would be, I mean, I would think that it would be something that it would be nice because it's something that when they use it, they have to plan around it. So things can't be spontaneous when they're using it. So, but yeah.
It takes a while to work.
Yeah. And
by that time, anyway, go ahead.
Right. And there we go again about, here, you're trying to put a Band-Aid on a problem that's a much bigger problem. And, as far as that is a sign of heart disease, and that's not going to help matters. Okay, here's an interesting one, Green Warriors. True or false? Women can also suffer from erectile dysfunction. I bet you never heard that question before. So go ahead and type in your answer and type in your guess. It's okay. We don't grade you if you don't guess the correct answer. And while they're doing that, go ahead, Dr. Heidrich. Tell us what the answer is.
Well, if you've ever studied anatomy in great detail and you get into the region that we're talking about, you will find similar organs all the way from the testes being similar to the ovaries and the clitoris similar to the penis. And the clitoris is obviously very small and more obviously has a really tiny artery and vein keeping it healthy. And so for a female arousal, you have to have the same conditions that affect the male arousal. And if the women are eating the SAD diet, they may wonder why they can't reach orgasm. And here again, the solution is vegan, a low-fat, whole food diet. So for women as well.
And that the SAD diet, the standard American diet, is what most Americans are eating. And
oh boy.
And it's to hear this answer and to think about a couple that are probably around the same age, and if they both are having this erectile dysfunction, how frustrating it must be and how sad for them.
Yep. And no doctor will, well, I won't say, there are few doctors who will tell them what the solution is. It's not pills, it's not surgery, it is diet.
Yeah. So you need good blood flow for a lot of reasons.
Oh boy.
And that is one of them. And when you have red blood cells and white blood cells, you have all kinds of things flowing through your body, but the red blood cells are what carry oxygen, and they are kind of they're round and smooth, and they have like a little, what if you could make a thumbprint impression in the middle, that's kind of what they look like. And they have negative charges around them. And just like if you have a couple of magnets when you were a kid in science, maybe, and you could see that if you put these two magnets together, they would repel each other and you couldn't get them to stick together. Well, that's what happens with red blood cells. They have negative charges around them so that they don't stick together, because the arteries are smaller in diameter than the red blood cells. All the arteries are. And so when the red blood cell needs to pass through an artery, it needs to deform and kind of bend a little bit, kind of like a little Pac-Man. And and they like to go in not attached to each other because they get in a lot easier that way. Well, when you eat the standard American diet and you have cholesterol and fat and all these things that are deleterious to your health, it makes those red blood cells stick together almost like you were looking at a stack of coins. It's actually called rouleau formation, which is a French word that is meaning that. And so now imagine a stack
of dimes that you get from the bank.
Yeah.
So,
and imagine those trying to deform and squish in order to get through the artery. They can't. It have a lot of trouble getting through, and that's again blood flow because of this standard American diet. Okay, well, we were talking about exercise, so let's talk about this question, Green Warriors. True or false? Regular physical exercise has no positive impact on erectile dysfunction. Okay, Green Warriors, what do you think about that one? And Dr. Ruth, tell us the answer.
The answer is very, very false. Physical exercise has a very positive effect in that I don't know if you've heard of the nitric oxide 3-minute exercise. Dr. Zach Bush is, I think, famous for it. If you've been sitting at your desk for a while and you need to get up, you do the 3-minute nitric oxide. And it consists of squats and arm raises and moving around, punching. And what this does is the exercise produces nitric oxide, which as it flows through the body, opens the arteries. And teenagers are bursting with nitric oxide, but as we age, our levels get lower and lower, so we have to resort to exercise. And the nitric oxide molecule is very fast. I mean, they come and go quickly. So exercise has to be continuous. Sitting that's one of the reasons it's so dangerous. Another source of nitric oxide is leafy greens, because they have nitrates. One of the good things about leafy greens is the nitrates, which increase your nitric oxide. In fact, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn tells his famous cardiologist or surgeon and everything from Cleveland Clinic, tells his heart patients that when he's reversing their disease, 6 times a day, take some leafy green and chew it. And when they chew, it mixes with the saliva and creates, guess what? Nitric oxide. So another reason to eat your good diet and exercise.
Yes, exercise is so important, as you are demonstrating every day in your life. And getting back to blood flow, if you would take some of human blood and maybe put it in a little dish And then you would, next to it, you would take a similar dish and put some water in it and just watch them both for a few minutes as they are just not moving and sitting in each of those dishes. Well, over time, not, and it won't take too long, just within minutes, the blood will start to get thick because blood is meant to move. And if it's not
Yeah.
moving, it gets thick. And there again, we were talking about blood flow and the different arteries, and it makes it thicker so that it doesn't want to pass through those arteries as easily. Yeah. So now you compound that with the high fat standard American diet and the rouleau formation that I was talking about, where the blood, so now you have the red blood cells are stuck together like a stack of coins, and you're not moving around. So now the blood itself is getting thicker and thicker. And so no wonder there are so many people that are having erectile dysfunction.
Yep, male and female.
Yeah, male and female is right. And actually, one of our Green Warriors, thanks, said, never heard that one before about the females. And that
It's in my book. And it's if you go to my website, ruthheidrich.com, you'll see all my books, and you click on them, and you can order them that way. So
yeah,
if you want more details, more recipes, more menu items, lots of good information to reverse any of these conditions. Although I'll bet all your warriors are halfway or all the way there, huh?
well, my Green Warriors are, but we typically, especially when we have such an interesting topic like we have today, we'll get people that have never heard of a plant-based diet and are learning about it. And that's what I love, is when we get people that don't really even know about it. But yes, most of the people that are watching and listening are my Green Warriors, and yes, they are definitely immersed in this lifestyle. Although, I mean, there's different degrees of it, and some people are still trying to get on board and be more one towards the 100%, where other people are. And it's a process. So, and I'm hoping that when people are watching things like this, that this may give them some inspiration and motivation, that if they haven't adopted the lifestyle, they would. And if they have, but they really need to up their game and not have what people would call cheat days, this may be something that could help them and inspire them.
Good point.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to, so when we were talking about this erectile dysfunction, what do you think that if someone adopted a whole food plant-based lifestyle, what would you think if they were having the erectile dysfunction? How long do you think it might take them before they might notice a difference?
Well, the reversal starts right away, but in many cases, the change is almost glacial because you've got a whole body there, and it just takes a little bit of time. But there's some things that act well. For example, my blood test, when I first went to Dr. McDougall with what I thought was a good diet, he looked at my cholesterol at 236, and he said, with a cholesterol this high, you are at as great a risk of dying of a heart attack as you are the breast cancer. And so I became vegan that very day. He spent enough time with me showing me all the research that I was totally convinced, went home, threw out all the animal products and oils, and had my next blood test less than 3 weeks later, and it had dropped down to 129. And he looked at the results when I came back, and he said, see, it works. And so 3 weeks, and we don't know whether it was like 1 week or a few days, but it gradually went from 236 down to 129. Well, that's not gradual, in 3 weeks. So that's pretty fast, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive, and that's wonderful that you have a way of measuring the numbers and the results. And so
Yeah.
this is something that somebody, if they adopted this whole food, plant-based, low-fat lifestyle, that they might be able to see those results in that amount of time. But you have to go 100% if you really want 100% of the results.
Moderation doesn't work. Only if you want moderate rates of heart disease and moderate rates of cancer.
And
What I
erectile
tell my
dysfunction.
kids
Right.
who still need convincing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
They say, oh, we are moderate. We don't go to one extreme or the other. What is extreme is dying of heart attacks and diabetes and dementia.
Yeah.
Pretty sad.
Yeah, and erectile dysfunction, not being able to enjoy your life with a partner that you love. So
Yeah.
Janice is one of our Green Warriors, is asking a question, and she said, "How can I talk to my partner about erectile dysfunction, and what can we do to maintain a healthy sex life?"
Oh boy. I guess somehow you have to raise the question about diet and maybe start being a sneaky cook and just start changing the foods if that's the problem. Yeah, it's I guess you just have to open up and say, look, this is what's at stake, and if it's an open, willing, and intelligent partner, there should be a good response.
Right. And because for sometimes you can get the results pretty quickly, perhaps maybe then the one partner can say, let's try this lifestyle and let's do it for maybe a month, and let's see if it makes any difference that we can notice, and maybe then that might be something that they could talk about. Yep, I think so. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Avery wants to know, what are your go-to simple meals?
Oh boy. I lean towards a raw food diet, and so I keep all these raw foods in my refrigerator. So, for example, this morning I had half a cantaloupe, and in it I added, scooping out the cantaloupe, I added a cup of blueberries and some raw hemp hearts, organic, and that was and some water. That was my breakfast. For lunch, which I will be having soon, I'm going to make a green smoothie with a whole bunch of those leafy greens. Oh, by the way, back at breakfast, I had a chunk of kale, which I chewed while I was making my breakfast to get those nitrates and the nitric oxide in there. And so the green smoothie at lunch with garlic, onions, ginger, and papaya, and banana. And for supper, the main dish is cooked, the purple sweet potatoes, which I love. That's from the Okinawan diet, where before World War II, when the U.S. Set up a base there and changed the food habits, those people they were one of the blue zones, and they had the most centenarians, and their diet was 80 to 90% purple sweet potatoes. And you can live on potatoes alone. I don't recommend it, but Mr. Potato Man did it for a year, got healthy, and of course Dr. McDougall always pushes starches. So that's the main thing. In addition to the purple sweet potatoes, I also have Brussels sprouts in my fridge, again organic, and I will have 5 or 6 of those. And for dessert, I have a different type of berry, usually goji berries or strawberries, and dates. That's basically my go-to for all 3 meals. I don't crave variety. I love what I do so much that I think, oh, this. What else do I need? What else do I want? This is perfect.
So Jeff, go ahead.
It depends on what the supply is. When I run out of, say, cantaloupe, I also have access to, being in Hawaii, papaya and mango. So I do have those too. So raw, there's so many advantages to raw. It's easy, the food prep, and you can shop at farmers markets and get all the healthy, organic, leafy greens, fruits, and vegetables.
Wow. Jeff P. wanted to know, he said, I've heard that the raw food diet can be challenging in terms of getting enough nutrients. How do you ensure you're meeting your nutritional needs, especially when it comes to protein?
Oh my gosh, that protein issue keeps coming up. Most people get way too much protein, which is why we have kidney dialysis centers popping up all over. Too much protein clogs the kidneys. If you're getting enough calories, then you're getting enough protein. Even fruit has protein in it. And so the real problem is getting enough of the complex carbohydrates and the starches. You only need 10% or less of protein. And it's available in all plants. So it is not a concern. There might be a concern about getting enough calories because you do have to eat a lot. Now, that's not a hard thing to take, right?
that wouldn't be a problem for me.
Yeah. So that's the only nutrient you might have to worry about with the raw food diet is getting enough calories.
Right. But here you are, you're still very active and you're burning lots of calories every day. So obviously
I do eat heavy weights. I'm trying to keep, what sarcopenia is, a loss of muscle as you age, which happens because we exercise less gradually and the hormones go down. So I lift heavy weights. I try to deadlift 15 pounds, which may not sound like much to these bodybuilders, but it's enough to build muscle, which is what I always do.
Right, because I think it even may start around the age of 40 where we actually start to lose muscle mass. And even if we're exercising, it's kind of like running up an escalator that's going down. Just to try to maintain that muscle mass, you really need to be exercising and lifting weights. Like you said, it doesn't have to be heavy weights, but you still need to do some kind of a strain on the muscle to make it at least maintain the muscle, because you're losing, and as you age you just keep losing more and more. So it's very important. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, and it applies to bones equally, because when the muscles pull on bone, it strengthens the bone. And osteoporosis is really an epidemic. Women, when they reach, I don't know, it depends on your doctor, maybe 40 or 60, want you to have a DEXA scan. And what happens if you're lean, like I weigh 110 pounds, so.
How tall are you, Dr. Heidrich?
5'6".
5'6". So yeah, you are lean. That's great, but you're healthy, and that's all muscle, basically.
Yeah, and bone. So.
Yeah, but that's true, because they talk about muscle, and when you're building muscle, if you are lifting weights or doing some kind of weight-bearing exercise, you get these tiny little tears in your muscle, right? And then they always say don't exercise the same area of the body the next day. Go to a different area. So you can do your
48 hours.
48 hours. Okay, right. So because you want to give the body a chance to repair those tears, and what happens when the body is repairing those tears? It's building up muscle, right? Yeah.
And bone.
And the bones. So the same thing with the bones, right? When you are jumping around, you're making tiny fractures in your bones, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
just like with the muscle, right? And then
Yeah.
you have things inside of your body that actually go to work and fill in those little cracks to make the muscle, the bone stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Okay, I think I may have one other question, Green Warriors. If you have a question for Dr. Heidrich, and don't be shy if you want to talk about erectile dysfunction, we are not afraid to say the words. So go ahead and put them in the comments if you do have a question. Okay, let's see if we had. Oh, no. Okay, Danielle want to know, how do you handle food preparation and storage, and what are your tips for maintaining a raw food lifestyle in our fast-paced world?
I don't see how that's a problem. I shop when I get low on my fruits and vegetables, and the blueberries aren't grown here in Hawaii, so I keep a bunch in my freezer. And sure, what the rest of the question? How when you get low, you buy more.
So I guess it's oftentimes I'll hear people when they talk about produce, they say, "Well, how do you keep it from spoiling?"
You eat it.
You eat it. I was waiting for you to give that answer. Exactly. And oftentimes I might have something in my refrigerator that looks like it's getting a little wilty or something, and I can just put it in my Vitamix, or I can roast it, and quickly I can cook it and then eat it. And so there's always a way to avoid that from happening.
Yeah, I never have had that problem.
Well, Green Warriors, I wanted to let you know before we went on that we did have a book giveaway for Sid Notter's book, The Plan A Diet, and we tried to get a winner for that last time. And what happened was the winner that we had, we weren't able to get in touch with them. So pretty soon we are going to be spinning our wheel again for the next person in line to win this book. So, and before we do that, though, I wanted to tell everybody, please click like to show your appreciation for what Dr. Heidrich shared with us today. And Dr. Heidrich, tell us about what you do and how we can find you. You did talk about it a little bit, but I wanted to give you another opportunity to tell everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot on my website. When you open ruthheidrich.com, which is RuthHeidrich, you open it up, and across there's a menu. In addition to my 6 books that I've written, there are resources, and there are also articles on my traveling. I've been around the world twice and had some great adventures, although not as many as I'd like are on there yet. But there's a lot of information on that website. There's also an Ask Dr. Ruth that you can click on and email me with questions, which I answer every day, every question that comes in. So that's the best way, ruthheidrich.com.
That is so nice that you take the time to answer the emails that come in. It means a lot to a lot of people. And it's just because you've discovered this lifestyle and you really have found that it benefits you and you want to help other people.
Yeah, and when you've just been diagnosed with cancer and you reach out to me, I can empathize with them on the other side. They're anxiously holding their breath, waiting for an answer. And so that's why every day, the first thing I do is check my emails. I had one yesterday. She had just been diagnosed, and I was actually awfully busy, and I thought, oh gosh, okay, that can wait. I'm going to answer her right now. And she answered me right back. And so we had a dialogue going about how her oncologist has said she has to have radiation, and she didn't want it. So that's an example of what I do offer people. So yeah, I'm available. So that's it.
That is wonderful. And now what we're going to be doing is we are going to draw for the book that I was telling everybody about. And that's what we're going to pull up our wheel of names in order to do that. And here it is. So we're going to spin that wheel right now to see who wins Sid Notter's book, The Plan A Diet. Okay, here we go. And the winner is Anita. You have just won The Plan A Diet by Sid Notter. So we're going to get that to you. We'll tell Sid to go ahead and mail you that book. And that's so exciting. Congratulations to you. And so now I wanted to thank you once again, Dr. Heidrich. What's your final message for our Green Warriors who were talking about erectile dysfunction? What's your final message for them?
My final message is, if you've been sitting all this time, you need to get up and produce some nitric oxide and do squats and lunges and lift weights and get that nitric oxide getting to all of your arteries. So thank you, Amy, for this opportunity, and we hope we've helped some people.
I'm sure that you did. Green Warriors, tell us in the comments, what are you going to remember from today's interview? One of my takeaways is that females actually can suffer from erectile dysfunction. And that's something I think that may have surprised a lot of people. And I wanted to thank Just Tess Voice because she did our promo and she did all the voiceovers and the graphics. She did so much to help get the word out about our broadcast. And Just Tess Voice, tell us who's coming up next.
Why does the gut microbiome impact weight management, metabolism, the immune system, and disease susceptibility? Can probiotics and prebiotics help improve gut health? How does one improve their gut health naturally? Bring your questions for Akil Teher, MD, on Wednesday, November 8th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
And Green Warriors, I wanted to tell you that I'm so grateful that you're here and you stuck with me through this broadcast, even though we had some technical difficulties. And I wanted to let you know that I would love to send you 5 free recipes. If you go to my website, begreenwithamy.com/join, I will send you 5 free recipes right to you. And you'll get to see pictures of me doing some physical activities that you might be surprised about. And I'll just send you some motivational tips and just be a friendly kind of email that you'll see, and it'll be fun. And I hope that you will go ahead and sign up for that. And Green Warriors, go ahead and take your right hand and grab your left shoulder and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder. Now squeeze, because that's a hug from me to you. I really hope that you found a lot of help from what we talked about today. And if you would like to comment in the comments below, which would be my tagline, if you'd like to join me, you can join me. And Dr. Ruth had to go, but we will do it together. Until I see you all again, remember, be strong, be well, and be green. Thank you so much, Green Warriors, for joining us. Bye-bye now.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be